it has been a couple of weeks since we did this because we had a sick dog.
Yeah.
Poor baby. How is your dog doing?
Oh, he's fine.
Oh, good.
He
He had
had a
his
house.
liver.
He had a house shoe sitting inside of his small intestine. It was only the top part. The soul, and I didn't even think about it when we were trying to figure out what was causing the bowel obstruction. I didn't even think about the slippers he'd eaten a couple months before because I found pieces all over the house. So I didn't think that any of it was missing.
It had been that
Oh,
long.
Yeah. This dog still throws up things that he ate years ago. Like it just sits in his gut. So that
Oh,
slipper sat in his
Lord.
gut until it somehow decided it was going to go on down. So yeah, he gets his staples out tomorrow.
oh man. Well, thank goodness he's okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I know
No, it's
somebody who has a dog that will like literally eat anything, and he has to be so, I mean, he just has to be so observant and careful about what gets left out because the dog will eat it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Oh,
crazy.
well, Max does that. And so we're dealing with, I don't know. I think he's coming to the end of his life. He's getting there. He's just turned 17 on August 29th. And but he has issues with colitis and he had this colitis flare, but it turns out that he also had giardia.
Really?
And yeah, we had taken a stool sample and it tested positive for giardia. And
Ooh.
so he had to be treated for that. And we just figure it's because we have bunnies that live under our deck in our backyard, and he loves to eat bunny poop. And so the vet said, are you have any wild animals in your yard? Yeah, we got the bunnies, and they think it's probably from the bunny poop, which he's been eating that for years. But I don't know what's going on this year with the rabbits, but he got a bad batch.
And what
And
is it with dogs and poop, man?
eating
Because
poop.
I'm telling you, because like we had a dog that used to, I don't think he ate it necessarily, but he would roll around in the horse poop in the field. He'd go out there and then he'd think he was going to come in the house, which was,
Oh yeah, when we had cats in a litter box in the house, they used to eat the
Oh yeah.
poops out of the litter box. It's like,
They're
oh,
Tootsie Rolls. Tootsie
and it's
Rolls.
like, why would
yeah,
you?
we used to call them almond rokas because
I
they
have
had the almond kitty litter attached to the outside, so it was like the
2 out of my 4 eat poop, and one of mine, the one that just had the surgery, he will poop, turn around, and eat it.
oh
Right
my
after.
goodness.
It is like, and the vet says that she doesn't think it's like that they've studied it, and they really don't know why they do it. That they thought it was a mineral deficiency, but it's really not. Like
Wow.
they just,
That is so disgusting.
it is
So gross. But
we did not let him
yeah,
kiss us.
right. So Max he's not bleeding anymore. He's not having the rectal bleeding anymore, and his stools are formed again, but just feel like he's not getting his energy back like he should. Last time he had a flare, his energy came back really well. And maybe we just need to give him more time. But
It gets
I
harder
don't
and
know.
harder.
It gets harder because this is another flare. He's older, and I think each one, just like with old people, each time they get sick, it's harder to
Yeah.
recover. Yeah. So, but I'm anxious to hear, Renee. I know you got a CGM, right?
I did, and it's already off. It's been over 2 weeks, and
Okay.
I learned, I only gave it a few days, of watching my sugars spike way higher than I thought that they would. Like, I didn't have no idea that after being carnivore for 18 months that I would still be getting sugars in the 120s after eating.
Interesting.
And like I expected lower. So like I started playing around with it after a couple of days because my sugars were like way higher. And even through the night, I was sitting in the 120s. Like I even reached out to Becca, and it was like, what's going on with my sugars? Like
Right.
this is, and so I reduced my protein, increased my fat, but not like crazy, just a little bit. But I spread my protein out into more, like instead of eating okay, so I was at 160 grams of protein. I dropped it to 130. And
Okay.
then I ate less at a meal. And within a couple of days, my sugars were like stable, and they would sit and they would go up maybe just a little bit and then back down. But I was able to drop my fasting back down into the 80s, where
Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't when I first started wearing the CGM. I was sitting in the 100s all the time, never got it down below 100.
Interesting.
Wow.
So gluconeogenesis is real.
Yeah.
And the there's a lot of question about moderate protein, high protein, what should you be doing? And I think we're all a little bit different, but I think overall, I'm not unhappy that I did the high protein, low fat while I was trying to get my thyroid fixed. But
Yeah.
now that it's fixed, I've got to go back. Like I have decided, I started adding butter to my meals again, and
Okay.
but I'm going to make sure that I maintain a protein level of 100 to 130 grams a day.
Mhm.
So at least I know that I'm getting good protein, but I don't need to be like crazy protein.
Mhm.
I was shocked at what it did to my sugars.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
got me
Wow.
curious.
So I know I saw my naturopathic doctor this morning, and it had been a long time since I'd seen him. And one of the things he wants me to get to do a CGM for a while and see. So I thought of you, like I'm really anxious to hear what you found from yours. So he's not as concerned about spikes, but more dips for me.
Okay.
But I don't know. We'll see. The concern with me is that I'm not eating enough, because I do have a tendency to undereat. And so we'll see. I'm going to
Now,
get one.
remember, undereating is really bad for you.
I know.
I
Ask my
know, and I tend
thyroid.
to undereat too.
Yeah, because remember, we'll go from we'll be doing great, and you think under eating is going to help with plateaus and stuff, and then it just tanks your
I
metabolism.
know.
I
I
mean,
know. And it's like leftover, just bad habits, even from my 20s, because I really restricted a lot in my eating in my 20s, like badly. And I was eating maybe 500 calories to 800 calories a
Ooh.
day, every day. And yeah, so I think it's just my tendency to fall back on those bad habits. And I struggle with eating a lot in one sitting. So maybe I need to eat like you're doing, maybe spread it out and eat more. I probably should be tracking again. I haven't tracked for a while. And so
tracking
would
is
help.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
When you are questioning what you're eating and how you're eating and what your macros look like I want carnivore, I don't want keto to be as easy as you can for everybody, because you don't want to make it hard. But at the same time, if you're at a point where you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on, tracking is the best thing to do for a few, even in just a few days, you'll figure it out really fast.
Oh yeah, that's what I found last time I tracked, is that it only took a few days for me to figure out where I was at. And my big thing is that I have decent energy. I mean, way better than I did before, but it could be better. And I don't know if it's that I'm not eating enough, or because my sleep isn't perfect, but it's also not bad. We checked my sleep. My watch tracks my sleep. I'm getting enough deep sleep, and my sleep isn't horrible. But so we're thinking maybe it's that I'm not eating enough. So we'll see. I'm going to order a CGM, and I'm going to wait until after we're back from Tennessee. So we're flying to Nashville on Thursday, and we're going to be there for a week. And we're going to go to the Low Carb for Better Health conference, Healing Humanity. We're going to be there as a team. And then I'm going to be visiting my cousins in Chattanooga.
Nice.
And then I've got it, and then headed back to Nashville. I've got a nephew and his wife and family that are in the outside of Nashville. So we're going to spend a week there. And yeah, I liked Nashville a lot. Like, this is the second time this year that we'll have been there.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I wish I could go.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where I finally met you in person.
Yep.
Aww.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so-
went to let's see, that one was the
Healing
well,
Humanity meetup.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
How
remember that little area. It's outside of where Dr. Berry lives. It's west of Nashville, but
Yeah.
It's
How
about
far from
maybe,
Nashville do you live, Carrie?
how far do I live? I
How
live
far
on
do you live?
from Nashville.
Mhm.
Um, it's about maybe 15 miles, if that. It's
Oh,
I'm in
oh.
metropolitan Davidson County, which,
Well,
you know,
maybe we can get together, even though you're
yeah,
not coming to the conference.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll
How
have
long
to
are
put
you
it
going to be in the area?
a week.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But
So, I mean, but
but
like,
2 days I'll be in Chattanooga. But other than that, I'm in Nashville.
yeah, let's do it. Let's meet up somewhere.
Yeah, we definitely
Um,
need to do that.
yeah, like
So,
there's a really good barbecue place, Edley's, that's it's in the Donaldson area, which is outside of Nashville. There is another one, but it's like in town, and
mm,
Nashville can, and they do have good restaurants downtown. Don't get me wrong, but if you actually like get into Nashville downtown, there's like gazillions of tourists. The traffic is terrible. Parking is terrible. Whereas if you go to
yeah,
Edley's, like in Donaldson, it's a little bit outside of Nashville. It's kind of a trendy. Well, they've done regentrification. You know, it's an old neighborhood, but I mean, they've done a lot of improvements, and now it's got like
yeah.
little shops and all kinds of stuff around. But
Oh, well,
um,
we did the touristy stuff last when we were there in the spring. We were there in
yeah.
April, and so we got to experience the downtown area where all the honky tonks are, and all
Oh,
the
the
tourists.
pedal taverns.
Yes, all of
where the
that.
little where the little chicky babes who are at the bachelorette parties are riding around. Seriously, they've got these
Absolutely,
things.
the
They're
pedal bars.
yes.
Yes, yeah,
So
and the
there's a
bachelor
guy
party.
driving. They call them pedal taverns, but it's like it's an open, almost like a little bus, and a guy's driving it. But then there's seats along the side, like benches
And
along
they're
the side.
pedaling and they're drinking and there's music
Mhm.
playing and stuff and they're having fun.
Mhm.
So,
And
yeah.
that we call them the woo girls, kind of after How I Met Your Mother, where they talk about the
Oh, okay.
woo girl, where they go woo over
Woo!
everything.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we went to Grand Old Opry, which was fun. So I don't know if we'll be able to hit that again or not. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. So awesome. Good. Well, yeah, so we're gearing up for travel. We'll be 2 days from now, we'll be in Nashville. So that'll be awesome. But all right, well, for those of you who are new tuning in, we are studying and we're going through this book. It is called Ketogenic, the Science of Therapeutic Carbohydrate Restriction in Human Health. This is actually a medical textbook, and it is very, very meaty, pun intended. And yeah, we're in chapter 3. Now, this is not like a book club, so we don't read ahead. We actually read and discuss as we go. And it is taking a very long time because we just do more chatting than we do reading, but we're making our way through and learning some things as we go. And hopefully, and sometimes we get some really good conversation in the live chat helping us out. And if sometimes we have Dr. Nelson come in here, in the chat and help
Mhm.
us, which is always nice. But we are on page 128. And this is this is the endocrine chapter, and we have just been going and reading about and learning more about type 2 diabetes. So the section is on managing the patient. Do you remember who left off reading last time?
I think it was Renee. So I'll start, and then if I start getting too brain dead, then I'll let you
And
take over.
I'll jump in. Okay.
Okay, great. So we are on managing the patient, correct? That's the
Yes.
one. Okay, great. Okay. So it's managing the patient, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction for type 2 diabetes. The treatment of type 2 diabetes includes any interventions that lower the glucose concentrations in patients and includes lifestyle changes, surgery, oral medications, and insulin therapy. All diabetes guidelines highlight, as a first step, the need to change lifestyles and increase exercise, and then stepwise approaches to medication use. For many years, as has been highlighted elsewhere, low fat interventions with exercise have been used, yet the increase in global diabetes rates continued unabated. Here we will focus on therapeutic carbohydrate restriction and evidence that may support its use in type 2 diabetes. So we're at evidence for therapeutic carbohydrate restriction in type 2 diabetes. Systematic reviews of studies of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction compared to conventional low-fat, energy-restricted diets conclude that the lower the dietary carbohydrate, the greater the improvements in glucose control and in weight loss. This is despite many of the therapeutic carbohydrate restriction arms not achieving a level of carbohydrate restriction that would classify them as true low-carb diets. Most studies cited could show data up to 6 months or 12 months. So the long-term efficacy of the studies was unknown. In a review by Goldberg et al., 50% of patients who followed low carbohydrate diets of less than 130 grams per day or very low carb ketogenic diets, less than 50 grams a day, could achieve diabetes remission, defined as HbA1c less than 6.5 at 6 months, although those who could stop all medication as well were a smaller group.
I wonder if that's because they still had carbs in their diet, because I've heard so many times of people that go carnivore and eliminate all the carbs that they can actually go off their medications completely.
And yeah, I think you do hear more of carnivores being able to go off of their meds completely than of people on low carb diets. And really, I think carb creep is a real thing. Like when you're keto,
Right.
it's very easy. You think you're down to like, 20 grams or 10 grams a day, but really you're like 50 or more. And it's not that you're going carb crazy, but it does creep up. And it would be enough in some people, I think, to keep them from getting off their meds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I've got this propped on my keyboard drawer and it slipped. So yeah, I think it's true that most of the people that I hear of online who actually got off their meds are actually carnivores or maybe ketovore, because I think it is easier to be ketovore because your carbs are so limited. I mean, it's just to like some very carb friendly veg and that's about it. Like it's not.
Right. A lot of people who are ketovore, their carbs are really low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the time I'm carnivore, but every now and then it's, I am ketovore, but, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't, like I have very strict rules about, what I will indulge in, and I know how it affects me, but that comes from years of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's see, where was I? Okay. Okay. This review also highlighted the general safety of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, showing no worsening of cardiovascular disease risk factors or adverse age events. Okay, meaning showing no worsening of CVD risk factors. Okay.
Yeah.
Although they noted a trend for increasing LDL cholesterol at 12 months. That's an incomplete sentence, but it had a period. Okay.
Yeah, it is incomplete. Yeah. Which shows that there really isn't a connection between the higher LDL and cardiac risk.
Yeah, and it's good. I think the word is kind of starting to get out there because just in conversation that I've had with people recently, actually, like there was a family friend that I was talking with, and she had said that her doctor wanted her to go on statins, and then she said no, that she declined because she had read that and had heard, and I confirmed it, and others did, but that high cholesterol doesn't mean. It doesn't mean, in other words, cholesterol isn't causing
Heart disease.
It doesn't cause heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
It might be there like the fireman, like we talked about, but, putting out the fire, but it's not. So anyway.
If we weren't supposed to have cholesterol, our body wouldn't make it.
Right.
And
yeah.
cholesterol. So why would we make it if it's bad for us?
Exactly. And the thing about it is, like, statins do so much more damage. And speaking of statins and drugs, there's going to be some serious limits now. They just released it on the news that the drug advertiser, of course, I'm sure they're going to sue over it, but that there's stricter requirements when they advertise drugs on TV now.
Good.
So
Good.
I wish they would eliminate it altogether, but I guess you
baby
can't
steps.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, doesn't our body, maybe Renee, you can confirm this. Doesn't our body produce like 85% of the cholesterol that we need?
Yeah.
So only the 15% comes from our diet.
Right. And everything in our body, our hormones and everything are made out of cholesterol. So if you don't have cholesterol, like I'm shocked that we were able to have kids and do normal things because I was low fat from the time I was born. Like that's how I was raised. And so we never ate red meat. We didn't eat fat. My mom was on this cholesterol train. Right. And so like, I'm surprised that I was able to have children and be fairly normal. My hormones must have been all messed up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our bodies are really, they fight for us as best they can, despite what we will try to do to them.
The human body is tough, man. The abuse that we put it through.
We're very resilient.
Yeah. I guess we had to be to survive. I mean, for the species to survive all this time. But And the thing about these drugs, though, is like they damage other things. Like, you've heard where they recommend that seniors, or people who are on statins take like CoQ10. And that's because the statins affect that same pathway so it's just, in other words, there's no drug that targets just one thing. Like a side effect is basically an effect, but it's just terrible how we've been taught to fear cholesterol because, our bodies need it to produce hormones. I mean, we need it we need it for just about everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's wild.
Definitely.
All right. So benefits were shown in weight loss, reduction in medication usage, and in reducing triglyceride concentration. Feynman et al. Cite 12 points of the best evidence for the use of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction in diabetes management. These points highlight that low-carb diets have the greatest effect on reducing hyperglycemia as reflected in HbA1c, a predictor of microvascular and to some extent macrovascular complications. Benefits of low-carb diets do not require weight loss, but it is often the best intervention to help with weight loss. Adherence to low-carb diets is as good as or better than adherence to any other diet. The intake of fat is not associated with increased risk for cardiovascular disease. In fact, plasma triglycerides, a key cardiovascular disease risk factor, are controlled more by the intake of carbohydrates than by lowering fat intake. Patients with type 2 diabetes are able to reduce medication use, thereby reducing exposure to adverse effects. Feynman et al. Conclude that low-carb diets should be the first approach in patients with type 2 diabetes due to its many benefits and few disadvantages to this approach. Example, hypoglycemic episodes if patients are not counseled about correctly lowering hypoglycemic agents. So in other words, if they go low carb but then still take a full dose, it can cause their blood sugar to go too low.
Low.
Exactly. And diet used to be the first thing. Like my grandfather had type 2 diabetes, and I mean, it was treated with diet.
Right.
My grandmother knew what to cook for him, and that was what she cooked, and that was what he ate, and he managed it. So
and historically, that was the way to control diabetes was through low carb diets, and then medications came on the scene, and things changed. And
I remember seeing movies from like the late 70s and early 80s where the diet plate was cottage cheese and a hamburger patty, for example. I remember seeing that. It would be like the diet special or whatever. And it's just crazy how that changed so quickly.
Sad.
Yeah.
Lee says, I lost 20 pounds, only need to lose about 7 more.
Woohoo!
Hey, with a bad thyroid. So hopefully your thyroid will get better too. My goodness,
Yeah,
but that's great.
that is fantastic. I always
Love
like to
it.
hear the good news.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Noakes and Went have subsequently authored a narrative review showing evidence for the use of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction for weight loss, insulin resistance, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes, and atherogenic dyslipidemia with associated cardiovascular disease. They highlight the safety aspects of the diet in patients with these medical conditions, mentioning that at initiation of the diet may come fatigue and muscle cramp. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
May come with some transient side effects linked to the natriuresis, okay, what is this word?
Natriuresis, is that
natriuresis of
That's more
fasting.
peeing. That's when your kidneys start peeing out a lot more.
yeah, when you're eating a lot. I
I
don't
am
know
so glad
why
y'all
they
are here
calling
to
it
translate that.
diuresis? Is that the same as diuresis?
Kind of. What I read today, I'm reading this book because I don't read enough of other
Oh,
stuff.
it's
But
increased excretion of sodium in the urine.
yeah, it's when the salt starts following the water and you lose your
Yeah.
electrolytes. Basically,
So
it's
that,
keto.
yeah. So basically the sodium. Yeah. So natriuresis is the increased excretion of sodium in the urine, which also often results in increased water excretion. So you're losing sodium, which makes that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and then of course it says here colloquially known as keto flu. So yeah, of course I'd say most of us probably know what that is, such as headache, fatigue, and muscle cramps. They also highlight the fact that as studies progress, an element of carbohydrate creep, oh my
There
God,
you go. You were just talking about that.
may occur, which often reduces the efficacy of the intervention in the long term. However, motivated patients who remain on the diet continue to experience health benefits.
So tracking needs to be if you're I mean even
You
if you're
know,
not
it just might be a good idea to start tracking, like, or to just make a note to yourself, like about maybe once a month or something, to just like, okay, I need to track. Like, even if you don't have a
do
particular
it for a few
reason.
days.
Mm-hmm. That
Mhm.
might be a good idea. I mean,
Is
because I'm terrible at it. I don't track anything.
Yeah. And it's not just carbohydrate creep because like I don't eat carbohydrates, but for me it's restriction creep. I eat less and less and less until I'm restricting too much.
Yeah.
And so for me that might be good just to track and make sure my calorie intake isn't going down too low.
Well, and I probably need to do it for the same reason as you, but also like of course I eat basically carnivore, but I don't track like how much protein I'm actually eating
I
versus
don't either.
fat, or I don't track any of that, and I probably should.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
think I
have
should as well.
noticed that when I eat more fat, like if the meat, like I typically eat my meat or whatever with whatever fat comes on it.
Mhm.
So if I eat fattier cuts of meat, for example, I like if I have a big ribeye, man, nothing feels better than after eating a big fatty ribeye. And you just, I don't know. And then it's like your mood is even better. I notice a difference. So like I can eat ground beef or whatever, but it's like, and I love pulled pork, and I eat that quite a bit. Like what are those carnitas?
Oh,
I love carnitas, but it's like I feel my best after I eat a big fatty ribeye, and I really think that increase in fat kind of helps. I don't know, because I mean my diet's not very varied. it's it's not very varied, so I don't know. It's
yeah,
just
a lot of
interesting.
people
What
say
about you guys? Do
they
you
feel
ever
better
notice a
after.
difference?
Yeah, a lot of people say they feel better after eating the beef, and a good steak as opposed to some other types of things. I had recently, just like within the last couple days, um, I had I ate some chicken and I went to the grocery store counter where they have the roasted chicken
Mhm.
and I was just out. I was hungry, so I figured, well, the roasted chicken probably isn't that bad. Okay. I was wrong. So I got the
Oh,
dark meat and I ate it. And then after, and brought it home. Dave ate some too. And then he was looking at the label. I think at the deli counter, like they weigh it and then they print off the label, right? And they stick it on the container and you go scan it. So I didn't even look at the label till he looked at it at home and there was all these garbage ingredients in this on the seasonings and stuff, and probably things they inject into the chicken. And I didn't feel bad right away, but I think that it really caused my histamine levels to increase because yesterday, so that was 2 days ago. So yesterday we were out looking at properties and stuff, and I got overheated, and I haven't gotten overheated for a long time.
wow.
And like, and even just earlier today, my face was like really red. And so I was on the call, like our live Q&A call with the Healing Humanity Life, right? So I was talking about and everyone could see how red my face was. And I was talking about this happening. And Coach Lisa's on there, as she said, why don't you try taking your rescue meds, my chewable antihistamine. So I've got a rapid dissolve Claritin. I've got a chewable Pepsid. So on the call, I went and grabbed them and took them. And like, I think my face doesn't even look like beet red anymore. It looks back to normal. And I
No, it's
almost,
not red.
yeah,
Yeah.
like even within a couple minutes, I could feel the flushing going away. And gradually the red has gone away. And to me now I look back to normal, but it was, so for me, even histamine creep is a thing. It's
But
like,
you know what? It's really sad that you thought that you were doing the right, like you were making the right decision, because there were so many carbs and so much other stuff that you could have eaten in that deli, and you think that chicken is the right choice. Why do they have to put all of that crap in the food? Like
yeah,
that I don't get it. I eat chicken every morning. I have such a varied diet. I eat chicken for breakfast, and I eat beef for lunch, and that's it.
mhm.
I mean, I eat chicken every single day, and all I need is salt and pepper on it.
Yeah, honestly, and I don't eat chicken very much. If occasionally I'll feel like having something different, and so I'll usually get like thighs and drumsticks.
Hmm.
And but not man, not anymore, not, at least not from the grocery store, because I mean, if you're going to make it, just do it yourself.
Yeah. So then you know exactly what's in it. Well, getting into like things that come in, that you might think are safe. Like I do a chili every year at Christmas on Christmas Eve, and I don't put beans in mine.
Mhm.
But I get like, well, there's a couple of farms that I've gotten grass-fed beef from, so I get really good beef, and then the ingredients, like I get the spices now from the Amish that I put in there, and those don't bother me. But I had used the last time I used McCormick's mix. I think they changed it. They did something to the mix because it never used to bother me. And about 3 years ago, I used it because I mean, I don't eat chili really hardly ever, except for around the holidays when I make it. I might make it one or two other times throughout the winter, but in other words, it's just not something I eat a lot. But about 3 years ago, well, maybe four now, because I have time passage disorder. But anyway, I noticed it was like I just felt terrible after I ate it. And so that's when I was like, well, and I got to looking, and I don't know, but there were words I couldn't pronounce on the McCormick's.
Never a good thing.
And so I don't know for sure that they had changed it, but I suspect that they did, which was really disappointing. But I just don't use it anymore. I can't.
The one thing that I learned about McCormick's, and you have to really watch it, is they put seed oil in almost all of their spices. I was going through my sister's cabinet looking for something to use when I was there, and I was like, well, not this, well, not this, not
Yeah.
this, because why put seed oil in spices?
Yeah, why?
I don't get it.
I mean, a lot of times they'll put a anti-caking agent, which is a little more understandable.
Right.
because you want it to sprinkle, right? So they put an anti-caking agent. I don't know, why would they put seed oils? What is the benefit of that?
But you're right, Carrie. There's so many ingredients you can't even pronounce on it, and it's just supposed to be spices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's always been like that. I don't remember it, but yeah.
Yeah, BJ's. Oh, we don't have a BJ's where I
Oh,
live.
you don't?
Oh man,
We
so
do.
it says they sell the whole rotisserie for $5. The guy I talked to says they don't do anything to chickens before putting them in their oven. I think everyone is different though. Oh yeah, I wish that was
Yeah.
the case.
I've had BJ's and it hasn't bothered me. Like I've been with my daughter and we've gone to BJ's and we'll get one to share. Like, well, she'll take the rest of it home to Corey, my grandson. But anyway, and I've eaten some of it and it hasn't bothered me. I generally don't buy chicken. I just don't eat it as a general
Yeah.
rule, like to
But
just
that's
fix
good
it
to
for myself.
know. It's good to know as we travel,
Yep.
if we're in an area where there's a BJ's, I'll know that I could probably get their chicken and be okay.
And yeah, and you're also good if you go to Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's has great beef jerky. They don't use any preservatives or stuff in it. So, I mean, don't do like I did the first time I bought it and buy a whole bunch if you're not going to eat it like within a few
Yeah.
days, because like
Good
you
price.
can refrigerate it, but I mean, after a while it gets like really hard. So you just, because there's no, like I said, there's no preservatives in it,
Yeah.
but it is great beef jerky and their brisket is fabulous. And you don't have to get the sauce. I mean, they'll give it
Right.
to you.
I've had
like
Buc-ee's brisket. It is really good. And I have to be careful. I can't do too much. I used to not be able to do any brisket because of the smoked. I could do a little bit now.
Yeah.
Just not too much. But
So
yeah,
if there was a Buc-ee's close to me, I'd probably get my meat from there like all the time because their pulled pork is really good too. And there again, you don't have to get or use the sauce. And
Right.
I've eaten it and it doesn't bother me. And their ingredients, I mean, it's clean.
You don't have the histamine issues, so that's good. So you may not have to be quite as strict.
And if I'm at BJ's, I'll buy I get them from Costco. My daughter's got memberships to both, and I buy the hot dogs. I love the hot dogs. And like what I'll do is I'll put like a few of them in my crock pot with a little bit of water at the bottom, and it just simulates how they cook, how they steam them like in the store.
Oh
and
yeah.
they are so good to like just munch on,
Oh, okay. So nice.
It's just something I do. It's easy, it's simple. You
Yep.
just do that and you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All
our
right.
little, what is it? How to carnivore if you're lazy.
Well, that's me every single day.
Yeah. So that was me today. I ate a couple hard-boiled eggs and some Teton sausages, which are really clean.
Yeah, and another thing that they have at BJ's, which is really handy, is they have these eggs that are peeled.
Yeah.
And I get those, like I do meal prep and stuff, but I also have and I get the burgers at Costco. It's, pre-cooked burgers, but the ingredients are really clean in those. I can't remember I think it starts with a B. It's not Bubba though, but it's some kind of burgers that are pre-cooked that you can get at Costco. And I'll get those. And if for whatever reason, I don't feel like cooking or I haven't done meal prep or something, I have those in the freezer and I can just get them out and, warm them up. So I have to have lazy day or brain dead food, because like, for example, the last couple of weeks, my manager just got back from vacation and I'm happy for her. She got to go on a really nice long cruise, but it was just kind of wild when she wasn't there, and so, but when you have and plus you're dealing with a sewer issue, and you're just like, I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like doing anything. And it's so tempting to like call and have something delivered that's not really good for you. So, yeah.
So quick and easy is good.
Yeah. So I try to make sure that I have, even if it's not like 100,000,000% pure, because I'm sure they've got to have something in there but it's pretty.
I had these
pretty good
breakfast links too. I have some in my fridge. Yeah, they're actually really good.
I've had those before. Yep.
Where do you get Teton? Is that I'm assuming that's the brand.
Yeah, so the Polish sausages I get from Costco, but the
Okay.
breakfast links I order them. I have Imperfect Foods that I have every week get a delivery. I order them
Oh,
through there.
Because that's
Yeah.
one thing. I haven't found a breakfast sausage that was clean. So I've not had breakfast sausage since I went on carnivore. So
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they do have seasonings in them. So it's not like they're not seasoned, but all the ingredients are clean.
well, I will admit that I eat myself a occasional hot dog or two as well, Carrie. I found Bar S Jumbo Jumbos,
yes.
and they are as clean. I mean, they have a little bit of nitrates. Like, can't get rid of absolutely everything, but they have no sugar and they have no seed oils and stuff. And
Yeah.
so
Same with the Teton. Yeah, just herbs. Yeah.
Hmm.
I write that
So,
down.
yeah,
But
they're
yeah,
very
those
good.
Bar S hot dogs, they're plump, they're the thick hot dogs, and they are really good. So there you
Cool.
go. Some
All right.
quick, easy carnivore meal
Tips.
ideas.
Yep.
All right. So, okay. Brown's, which is the name of somebody, Brown's offered an alternative to these views where he looked at further evidence for or against the use of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction in overweight or type 2 diabetic patients. In his review, he shows evidence for good quality high carbohydrate, like paleo, high fiber diets, like the Semini people of South America, diets being healthy in certain populations, but that when those populations introduce poor quality refined carbohydrates like sugars into their diets, their health suffers. In overweight non-diabetic individuals, they show that low fat and low carbohydrate diets seem to be equivalent in weight loss and cardiovascular disease marker improvements, except in LDL changes and in prevention of progression from prediabetes to diabetes. However, he confirms the benefits for low carb, high fat diets in diabetes patients, which include weight loss, improved fasting glucose concentrations, reduction in HbA1c concentrations, reduction in medication use, reduction in hypoglycemia, and improvement in cardiovascular disease markers. His final comments are cautionary and suggest that while low carb, high fat diets in the short term are beneficial, long term evidence is needed.
It would help if they do long-term studies. I mean, they admittedly aren't doing long-term studies. So how are you going to get long-term evidence if you don't
Well,
do
but then here's the thing. I'm like Dr. Berry in this. I
all
think
anecdotal, which is good.
the long-term study to me is our ancestors and what we ate up until about 50 years ago or
Yeah.
40, 40-ish years ago.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, and when I think about, okay, yes, you can get some benefits from, low fat, but I mean, and Renee, you said you did low fat for a long time. To me, that was not sustainable because my body was craving something. So I always would turn to sugar and more carbs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, to
Right.
me, higher fat is so much more sustainable because I'm so much more satisfied and not hungry and craving things.
And if you look at it like the 80s, 90s, 2000s, the whole time I was low fat. I mean, that was crazy low fat. You didn't use fat
Oh
on it.
yeah.
But like even when I did low fat carnivore, I was still hitting 60 to 70% on my macros for fat. So I wasn't like, it really
Right.
wasn't low fat compared to what I did the entirety of my
Right.
life. It was just low fat compared to what I did when I started carnivore. Now I'm still hitting like my macros. I only tracked for like a week while I was using the CGM because I wanted to see what it looked like. And I'm back up to like 70 to 75%
Mhm.
fat. So I mean, and I'm gonna stay there. I feel good. I'll tell you, my hot flashes are getting better again. I'm
Good.
sleeping better again. And I really, my husband and I have been talking about it way before I did the CGM that it was the fat. Like truly, I had gotten rid of the hot flashes completely at the beginning of carnivore, and then they came back when I went low fat. So, I mean, what's that tell you about your hormones and fat?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We need fat.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Quality fat, not seed oil fat.
Right.
Right. And, the Native Americans, as an example, had a term called rabbit starvation, where,
Mhm.
like, in the wintertime, if they didn't have like fatty meat available to eat, and like they would hunt like the animals in the winter, and the most common would be like rabbit, but the rabbits were thin, they didn't have fat, there was hardly any body fat because it was winter for them. And they called it rabbit starvation because while they would eat, they didn't have enough fat, and that's what it was. So it's just it befuddles me that, and of course I never gave a whole lot of thought to diet before I really started researching into this whole paleo/low carb, then down to carnivore lifestyle. But it's like, when I look back now though, and I think, our ancestors ate that way, and we were overall pretty healthy. I mean, there were anomalies, but that they were just that. They were anomalies, they were exceptions. And now it seems like those exceptions have become the rule.
Yeah,
So
the
it's just
diseases didn't really necessarily set in until we started living in larger communities and the sanitation wasn't very good. And, but once you fix the sanitation and,
Mhm.
that part, the hygiene and all that, a lot of those things went away where people would die from injury.
Right. Which is
Yeah.
what it should be. We should either be dying from old age or from injury, and that's it.
Mhm.
Like, that should be what takes us.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. So
All
interesting.
right. So it says he also highlights the observation seen in many studies, as well as clinical practice by clinicians, that many patients experience carbohydrate creep over time. Boy, there's that phrase again.
Mhm.
But it does happen.
Yeah, it
It
does.
often ends up at higher intakes of 130 to 160 grams a day. He then recommends that a target of 100 to 150 grams a day may be more sustainable. The major problem with the review is that he gives he gives no alternative recommendations for controlling or reversing diabetes effectively. But the thing is, to me, I think it's easier to just like basically be no carb
Mm.
versus figuring out, like, on a regular basis. I'm not talking about like an occasional treat, but like, if for just your day-to-day lifestyle, just just no veg, no nothing, and then just um, eating your meat, because then you're not having to worry about how many grams of carbs you're getting. You don't
Right.
have to worry about carb creep because, like you said, Lynn, if you're carnivore, and you just eat your meat, you're gonna, I mean, there's a few carbs that naturally occur, but it's
Yeah, but they're
in that
animal-based.
food.
They're
Yeah.
animal-based carbs. Like an egg
Mhm.
has a carb. If you do
Right.
dairy, there's some carbs.
Cottage cheese,
Mhm.
I was eating cream cheese last night with pork rinds.
Mhm.
The cream cheese container. I was like, oh, I probably should stop now because I mean, there's carbs in it, and I'll admit, like, I am sometimes I'm more keto than carnivore, and I've added ferments and some avocado back in. And avocado has 12 grams of carbs in it.
Mhm.
Great fat, but it's got 12 grams of carbs. So if you have somebody eating avocado with every meal and eating vegetables with every meal, the carb creep is real.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, and Bill says some say treat and some say cheat.
Well, for me, I mean, it's pretty rare. Like, on my
Yeah.
birthday, I had some steak and shake fries that were cooked in beef tallow. That was the first time I had like fast food fries in years. And when I found out Steak and Shake had those, I allowed myself to have them for my birthday. So, I mean, that a treat is literally
Yeah.
a treat. It's not something
Rare.
that I do frequently at all. And I
Yeah.
have rules, like, I don't eat bread. I don't eat grains
Yeah.
ever.
Like what we found out like last time we met was that one spike in, the spike in blood sugar, the cellular damage it does take 6 days to repair.
Yep.
So there's a consequence for that.
The
Yep.
one thing I saw with the CGM too, speaking of the spikes, was that when I started to eat butter, like I stayed at the higher protein and just started adding butter to my meals. And that really did make my sugars not spike. You know, we read that, I think last week, that adding fat to your food, it will help prevent sugar spikes. And I did notice that it really made a difference if I ate fat with my food.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to get a CGM. I just need to check that out. Just to
You know,
see.
it was an awesome experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious now.
I'm gonna wait to do it until I'm back from Nashville. But I'm definitely gonna wait. One of my goals for Nashville, I'm gonna try. Like, I always gain some weight when I travel, and I'm thinking it's because I tend to allow myself more cheese when I travel. So I'm gonna see if I can not not gain weight this trip, and that will be nice if that happens. So let's see. Bill says slows digestion, GLP-1 hormones kick in. Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right. So let's see here. Okay. Oh, and then of course the person who gave that review, it says here, just to reiterate, that there was no alternative recommendations for controlling or reversing diabetes effectively. So in other words, it's kind of ironic with that the person says that low carb, high fat works. And, you know, I understand for some folks, you know, the sustainability is hard, but then there's no alternative recommendations. So it's like, well, then I think if there's no alternative recommendations, then I would say that unless you want to take meds, that your best option is to eat low carb, high fat. I mean, that's just kind of my logical conclusion.
Makes sense.
Hey, the next paragraph has my new employer in it.
Oh, it does. Verta Health.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Awesome.
Yes, it does. Okay.
All right. Well, let's see what they say.
There is a growing body of published literature discussing the clinical application of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction for type 2 diabetes. Verta Health's shout-out report on their novel digitally monitored continuous care intervention at 2 years demonstrated sustained long-term beneficial effects on multiple clinical markers of diabetes and cardiometabolic health while utilizing less medication. While in a primary care setting in the United Kingdom, Dr. David Unwin published on patient data over 6 years. The findings from Unwin et al. Include 1. For those choosing a lower carbohydrate dietary approach for an average of 23 months, it is possible to achieve a 46% drug-free type 2 diabetes remission rate in UK primary care while achieving significant improvements in weight, blood pressure, and lipid profiles. 2, in patients with prediabetes, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction reduced HbA1c to within a non-diabetes threshold in 93% of the patients.
Did that for me. I was pre-diabetic.
It did it for me too. My husband.
And I'm still not diabetic, thank goodness.
Yep.
3, participants who started with the highest HbA1c saw the greatest improvements in glycemic control. These clinical findings of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction compare favorably to historical usual care for type 2 diabetes. The DIRECT trial, which investigated a very low-calorie formula feed in type 2 diabetes, found similar results with only 4% of the usual care control arm achieving remission, defined as A1C below 6.5% after at least 2 months off of all diabetes medication, compared to 46% of the intervention arm.
So even though that's significant, it just makes me wonder, like, how much more significant would be if they just drop the carbs.
Yeah.
You know, this is 46%, but they're still feeding them carbs.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that they're not realizing you don't need carbs.
Right. Shout out to Berta. I'm just going to plug Berta here just for a second. That clinical trial actually went on for 5 years, and they did it in Indiana. And the results were phenomenal on how many people got off their diabetes meds and how many people were reduced. Now, Berta will tell you that their well-formulated ketogenic diet is less than 30 grams a day.
Okay.
So I'm sure that the clinical trial, and I haven't read it yet. There's like 5 different write-ups on it, and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and read them. But they did show that it was less than 30 grams.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's a carnivore.
Mhm.
Even if you eat dairy with every meal, you're still going to get less than 30 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at the very least, like
Very
ketovore.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
I know when I was doing a ketogenic diet, I was doing less than 10, but it was net carbs. I never did the total carb thing. It was always net carbs. Because that way I could allow myself
A treat.
the treats, right? Which is why I didn't ketogenic was not sustainable for me.
Keto treats. Yeah.
Keto treats got me. Yeah. But
Well, it's probably a good thing that I don't know. Like, I just don't particularly care about like my daughter loves like trying recipes and doing all this stuff, like she'll make keto treats and stuff. And which I've never been that adventurous. It would have to be something incredibly easy for me to do it. So I never went that keto treat route simply because I just wasn't that ambitious.
yeah, I found easy keto treats to
Yeah.
make, but it just fed my addiction. So it was kind of pointless.
Yeah, because I'm human too. I would just sit and eat those if I had them available, if I made them, I would eat it. I know I would.
Carnivore is the simplicity.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to spend hours, okay, when I was vegan and I had to make the meals actually taste good because they never tasted good. I spent hours and hours cutting vegetables and cooking and stuff. And now I think I spend like 10 minutes total
Yep.
and cooking every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And you have time to do other stuff.
Right. Enjoy
Yeah.
life. I wish I had done that when my kids were little because then I wouldn't have been cooking all the time and I would have been able to sit down and, do homework with them and play with them. And
Yeah. Yeah. True.
I know. It's just a shame that we've been led down that path.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Achieving tight glycemic targets is important for preventing microvascular complications such as neuropathy, nephropathy, and retinopathy. However, modern treatment of type 2 diabetes using pharmacological approaches does not consistently achieve HbA1c targets. Higher HbA1c is associated with more diabetes complications, morbidity, and mortality. Lowering HbA1c alone does not always reduce complications. Yep. Well, because of the insulin. The Action to Control Cardiovascular Risk in Diabetes, CORD trial, demonstrated that intensive medical treatment carries an increased risk of all-cause mortality, a 35% increased risk of cardiovascular mortality, and a greater risk of hypoglycemic events and weight gain of 10 kilograms compared to those on standard insulin therapy. Other multinational, multicenter, randomized controlled trials that used medications to achieve tight glycemic targets did not demonstrate the expected reductions in heart disease or overall mortality. There is strong evidence for an alternative approach to treating people with type 2 diabetes. So in other words, those studies are the ones that I've heard Dr. Berry and others talk about, where I believe this is the same study where they say that you're trying to get their A1C too low. Have you ever heard that? In other words, they would say that for a diabetic, 7 is good because you don't want to take too much medication to get it down lower. And it's like, well, the reason that it's, that you're not healthier is because you're lowering it by artificial means. The body's not naturally
They're
doing
giving
it.
them insulin,
Yeah.
which is not good. That's where people start gaining weight and
That's what happened to my mother.
Mhm.
Well, and if your cells are insulin resistant, right, it's not just your pancreas releasing insulin, but it's your cell being able to take the insulin in. And
Mhm.
if you're not treating that, then it doesn't matter how much insulin's in your bloodstream because it's not getting in your cells to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So many diabetics end up needing more and more insulin over time.
Mm-hmm. My mother did. She took 2 different types. There was a fast acting and a slow acting
Mhm.
that she took.
Yeah, it's really common.
Yep.
Yeah.
Evidence for therapeutic carbohydrate restriction in patients with type 2 diabetes continues to show improvements in glycemic control, reduction in medication use, good safety profiles, and improvement in cardiovascular disease markers. Long-term outcomes in cardiovascular disease improvements still need to be shown. Notably, studies in low-fat diets have not yielded any beneficial improvements in cardiovascular disease outcomes. See Chapter 4. There is no reason to suggest that therapeutic carbohydrate restriction should not be offered to patients with type 2 diabetes as the first-line therapy and to continue to support patients who are interested in following this lifestyle or who have already started to follow it. Despite the acceptance of reducing carbohydrates as a powerful option in type 2 diabetes management, there is still a certain amount of clinical inertia and a large gap between awareness of the benefits of this intervention and practical application.
That's a really nice way of saying, despite the evidence, doctors still aren't recommending this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Clinical inertia.
Inertia. That's great.
That's such a nice way of saying the doctors are not paying attention or they, I don't know,
Yep, they're just inert.
they're inert.
It's the same way they feel about carnivore. My neurologist will still tell you today that it was a miracle that I'm better, not that I did something to do it.
Because you changed your diet.
Right.
Whereas
Yes.
with everything else that they're going to evaluate, they're going to look to see proximity to some sort of change and say that there's probably a good chance it's Occam's razor, right? There's a good chance that that explains it, but not with this, you know.
Right.
You take a medicine, like say you take a new medicine and you start to have a rash. What do? They say, well, maybe you're having a reaction to this medication, but you change your diet and you
Right.
start to improve. No connection.
Yeah. None.
Yeah.
Even in the recent 63-page publication in The Lancet from the Lancet Commission on Diabetes, which embodies 4 years of extensive work to make recommendation to improve clinical practice, carbohydrates are only mentioned once and only in relation to adjusting insulin doses. And that is also true of the American Diabetes Association and the
Okay, so
people here in the U.S.
I'm going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat and say that the pharmaceutical companies probably have something to do with this.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There's so much funding that comes from the pharmaceutical companies. And honestly, if people go on a low carb or no carb diet and don't need their medications anymore, what are they going to do?
Right.
And I think that in the medical schools are subsidized by the pharmaceutical companies too. And so what are doctors taught in medical school now? They're taught how to give medication.
How many of our nursing textbooks and the medical textbooks are published by Merck?
Right. And it's not, let's find the, root cause was something that I didn't even, until I embarked on this journey myself and tried to figure out how to heal myself, root cause wasn't something that as a nurse that I ever thought about. I never gave any thought to, well, why are you actually sick? It's just, here's the medication, but the root cause is so much more important.
Yeah, we weren't trained to think about root cause. We were trained to just give them medication and different nursing interventions that would get them stable.
Yeah.
Not cure them.
And that's really sad. I mean, it is because we should be healing people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad. Like that the human body has been sort of cut apart. Like you have your brain, you have your, like ear, nose, and throat area. You might have your heart, you have your, kidney, all of it. But like your specialist, podiatrist, you have just these specialists for all different parts of your body. And while there may be some necessity and some, depending, no doctor is going to know everything about every body part, but it's like your body is not a cohesive thing. It's not like it's one thing. It's like it's all of these parts, and each part is treated differently rather than treating the body as the whole.
Right.
You
Which is
know,
what functional medicine does, is it looks at the
Yeah.
body as a whole, it's holistic
Yeah.
medicine. And it's not just the body, it's also, your mind and your spirit, like it's everything, because stress is one of the stress is one of the biggest killers and biggest things that affect our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because we weren't made to be in a constant state of alert.
no.
Right.
We weren't made for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is probably a good place to stop. So next week I'm going to be still in Tennessee. I'm going to guess that we're probably going to be out doing anything, but I'll just let you guys know.
I
Okay.
will actually be in Dallas next Tuesday for
So 2
work.
weeks.
And we have a huge costume party Tuesday night that we have to go to.
There we go. So
I will not be available.
We'll meet in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. All right.
We'll
That'll
have
work.
fun. Enjoy.
Will you have fun?
Yeah. Do you already know what costume you're going to be?
Where our theme is futuristic, like metallic type stuff. So I just bought a dress that has a bunch of gold stars on it. I'm really not huge.
Not costume creative. Thank you, Bill. Bill has been going back and watching our old sessions. Like,
Oh,
more
cool.
power to you. Oh my goodness. Getting caught up. Well, he's studying. He's in, I think he's in Kiltz's program. And so they're studying this stuff. So awesome. Well, really glad. It was great to see you guys and great to catch up and stuff, because it's been 2 weeks. And this is the way we are with this Keto Study Club. It's our club, and sometimes we got life. So we work around our lives and get it in. And that's why it's taking us a long time to get through the book, but we're slowly doing it. So.
Yeah, but I enjoy it for the conversation as well as the learning is great, but I like learning with you guys and with the chat and the whole interaction. It's just good to do it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We're so glad Renee's here with us. So
me too.
It's awesome. All right. Well, we'll say good night. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks.